We flipped the calendars to September, and now the cool weather has arrived and it's starting to feel like fall. So it's time to start creating some fall themed projects, and today I have just the one for you. We are going to create a fall themed tea towel that you can hang in the kitchen or gift, or maybe you want to sell some crafts at a craft fair. This might be a good place to start. But before we dive in, I just want to take a second to introduce myself. I'm Christy here at Crafty Christy's Creations, and I'm here to help you master your silhouette. And today, that's with some HTV on a tea towel. So let's dive into Silhouette Studio and get started. All right, I've already pulled in a design here, and this just says Happy Fall, y'all, and there's a cute little leaf. And you can see we've got multicolored going on here. And we are going to cut out this in multiple colors and then put it all together on our tea towel. So I went ahead and measured our tea towel, and the way I folded it, we get about 14.5 inches is the length. So what I like to do to kind of figure out my sizing is I'm going to create my kind of what my tea towel size looks like. So let me scoot this on over, and it's probably about a 14 by 14 square. So let's do 14.5, and then we're going to have to zoom out here so we can see that whole thing. And then I'm just going to give this a color so we can see it. I'm going to make it just a gray color. So here's basically the canvas that we have to work with on our tea towel. And then, so I'm just going to take my design, pull it on over here, and you can see it's going to the back. So what I'm going to do is come up here to these quick buttons, and then I'm going to come to this one that says bring to front. So now that should layer it on top of my square here. And we're just using this as a guide to see how large we should make our design. So I'm just going to go ahead and see how big I want to make it. And typically you make things kind of just fit on this bottom half of your tea towel. And that might be a little bit too big. And this is all just preference of how big you want it. And I'm going to take both of those and I'm going to align them center. Yeah, I think I'd like that. So you're going to have room. Typically you want to have room on the sides and then a little room at the bottom. That's typically how you see them position. So this looks good. I can get rid of this big square. I don't need that. That was just for sizing. And then my whole design, I ended up about 6.6 wide and 5.7 tall. Now what we're going to do, because we're going to cut each of these out of a separate color, I'm going to go ahead and nothing's overlapping, so that's nice. So we don't really need to do a weeding box for this. We can just kind of eyeball how we layer them together. So all I have to do is right click and ungroup. So now each individual piece is going to be its own thing. And the heat transfer vinyl I have is 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to adjust my media size to letter. And I have flat sheets of HTV, so I'm going to be using my electrostatic mat. We've got all that set up there, and then all I have to do is pull in one of these at a time. I'm not making any more adjustments to it, and then I can just do it this way. So let me just scoot these on over just so I have them close. We can zoom this in a little bit more. So right here is my cut border. We're going to come over to the send panel, and this is just going to be a standard cut. The material I'm using is heat transfer vinyl, and I like to use the flocked setting. And then while it's doing that, I forgot to mirror our design. So let's see if we do Control Z. I'm just hitting Control Z to undo all that movement. While these are all right here, I'm going to group them back together, Control plus G. And then let's come over to our replicate panel, and I'm just going to mirror that. I'm going to get rid of the original so I don't get confused. Now I can ungroup, bring this on over, and then we're ready to rock and roll here. Oh, it didn't take. So we're doing heat transfer vinyl. I like to do the flocked setting for the material that I have. Everything looks good here, so let's get our machine set up. So I've got, these are the different colors that I'm using. And then let me just show you here. So here's my tea towels. So what I did was I found the center line, and then I just roughly folded these together to determine the width, so that I know that, like, okay, this will be the front of it. And then you can see here I'm at about, 14 and a half-ish, right about there. And then you figure this is 12, so I might be about 13 inches tall. So that'll be fine. And then we'll leave like a bit of a gap, and then we'll start, we'll have the bottom of our design up here. So that's how we're going to do that. Color-wise, I'm going to cut these out basically in the same type of colors of what it is in the design. So for this first one, we're doing yellow. So let's get this set up. So I've got my electrostatic mat here, and this actually is almost 12 inches long. Turn on that electricity. And man, it's been a while since I've used heat transfer vinyl, so let me not lie to you. This side here is the carrier sheet, so you want to make sure you're cutting through the back and not through the carrier sheet. So this does seem to have a little bit of a curve to it. Let's see, am I going to get away with it? I'm just going to tape it down to be certain, because I want to make sure that this is going to hold on here and has a slight lift. So these are not perfectly flat like what they really should be to use the electrostatic mat. So I'm just going to use some tape here to hold everything in place. And then we made our size on our material size is 8.5 by 11. So I'll have a little room here. I think I'm just going to scoot that all the way down to the bottom, and then I'll just be able to cut freehand when we're done. So let's go ahead and load that in. And then all I'm going to do is hit send. And then let me just show you this here. So then it gives you this little reminder, hey, have you mirrored? And I'm going to say yes. So we're going to just send it as it is because we already mirrored. It gives you this other checklist here, and then we're going to hit send. And then it's going to go ahead and get that cut out. So while that's cutting out, you can see it's going to go all the way down there towards the bottom. While that's cutting out, let's get our next one set up. So back over here, I'm going to come back to design. We can get rid of that one, and then I'm going to bring in the word fall. And then we can really do the same thing. We can do them kind of all towards the center or at the bottom here, or you could kind of scoot them over a little bit so you can save a larger piece here. That looks good. Same size. Nothing else has to change here. And this is going to be, I'm doing this as kind of a red, so we can come back to our send panel. Everything here is going to look good. Let's go unload and swap. So this one here is done. Everything looks good here. I've used these settings before, but let's just double check before we unload. I'm just going to try to peel out this weeded spot there. And looks like it did not cut through the carrier sheet, but did cut perfectly through the HTV. So that looks good. Can unload. And then let me just peel this off. And then I can reuse this tape on here. See if we can just hinge that. Yeah. Okay. So we'll set that aside. This one I told you I was going to do in this red. This is like a reddish purple, like a pinkish red. I think it's really pretty. It's kind of reminds me of like a wine red, I guess is what I would call it. So we said we had 11 inches. So I'm just going to kind of line this up roughly where 11 inches would be on this mat. We should have plenty of height. We'll double check. But let's just go ahead and get this taped down here. Okay, that looks good. Go ahead and load this in. So we're at about just under the 4, just above the 5 inch. So let's just take a quick look and make sure that's going to look okay. We don't have any, I have my rulers here to help me. So if I click at like what's the top here, you can see my ruler on the side says I'm roughly at a 7 inch. And then this part here is roughly at 11. So we should be just fine. And then all of our settings look good. And then I'm just going to hit send. We're going to again send as is and send. So that'll go ahead and should cut in the correct place for us. And that's looking just fine. All right, so while that's cutting, let's set up our next piece. Okay, we're moving right along. We got that one. I'm gonna bring in the word y'all. And I'm gonna do that same thing, pulling it over to that corner. That's gonna look good here. This is just about a little over an inch tall, so that should not be an issue. Come over to the send panel. Everything here looks good. Let's go to our machine and swap out our HTV. So this one's all cut. And let's double check down here because it did cut through our tape. So looks like it didn't cut great right there through our tape. So maybe just this spot right here. I think it'll be okay. Let's peel out this center just to double check everything. I think it'll be okay. If it's not, I can fix this little corner right here just with my, nope, something happened because part of my F is way up here. Okay, this one we're gonna have to resend. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set it up to come up here because there's a line right here. It seems like my mat somehow, something got caught. So let me just get rid of that. This corner here is lifting. Let me just tape down that little corner. This is why you always want to check your designs before you send them. So let's go back to Silhouette and we got a little far ahead of ourselves. So all I'm gonna do is Control Z and bring that fall back. And then I can come to our replicate panel and I'm gonna make a copy above it. And then this one here, I'm gonna leave it for right now. Let me just check our spacing. So this top part here, I'm at about 6. So this would be 5 inches. That would be 4 inches there. So let's take a look at our machine. And I know you probably can't see this very well, but right here is my 4-inch mark. Here's my 5-inch mark. Here's 6, 7, 8, 9. I have a line right here. This is 9, 8. So if I want the bottom to start above 8, we should still have plenty of room here. So let me look at that before we send it. We always like to triple check everything because the last thing you want to do is cut something goofy and then ruin everything. So we're going to look at this here. So we said I needed that to be, that was the 9, as long as we're above the 8, and we're like right there. So let me just do a couple of arrow keys up. And I don't think that should be a problem. So we can get rid of this one. I'm going to hit delete. We're going to use that. It's already loaded in. We never unloaded anything. We're just going to go ahead and send again. Send it as is. Okay. And let's see what happens. I don't know if you were able to pick up that noise, but it sounds like there's maybe something either in like kind of under the housing or under kind of like the lip that holds the blade in, that things are getting caught on. So might have to just take a little gander under there before we move on to see what is causing problems. But that one's all done. And it looks good. So here's where our little screw up happened. Everything here looks fine. And then we can just, we know we're using the same cut settings. This is all the same brand. So I know this is going to work fine. And then let's go ahead and just peel off all of our tape here. Okay. And that we can set aside. And then, oh, we never even unloaded. How funny. Okay, come on, unload all the way. There we go. So I'm just going to do a quick little unload here because something's goofy. So let's just take a look. I don't see anything under there causing a problem. So I'm not really sure what that noise was, what I was getting caught on. I don't see anything. All right, so let's just get this loaded back on here. So the electrostatic mat just clicks underneath. And let's see if I can get that clicked into the right place there. Okay, it's all clicked into place. That looks good. And then for the fall, we're going to do orange. So I've got this lovely orange color here. So we can go ahead and get this set up on here. Okay. Turn the electricity on, hold that in. So we've got lots of room. This is definitely longer, which is fine. Be surprised what you can do with small scraps. So I'm just going to go ahead and tape down the bottom here. That looks good. And then I am still going to put a little tape across the top because these corners are just lifted up. And really, I should probably just tape down those corners, especially this corner. That could be where things are getting caught. And you're probably thinking, well, doesn't taping it all down kind of defeat the purpose of the electrostatic mat? Maybe. But that's what I had on hand, so that's what we're going to use. So let's set up our next piece. All right, we got this one. Let's go back to design. And then we've got our orange. So that's what we're going to use for our leaf. And I'm going to put that down here on this side. And I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to get it kind of as close to the bottom here as I can, because I actually have more down there. So that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and send. Same settings as before. And then we can hit send. Send as is. Okay. And then it's going to go ahead and get that one all cut out. You see, we'll have lots of room on there, so that'll be fine. All right, let's set up our last piece. We're going to come back to design, move that out of the way, and we'll pull in our word y'all. And I'm just going to set that right there. And then this one will be ready to rock and roll when our other one's done cutting. Okay, so that looks good, and actually even some of this here right there is peeling up, so this will be perfectly fine. You can go ahead and unload. I don't always turn off the electricity between material, but when I have things taped down because I'm touching the mat, I will turn it off because it doesn't feel great if you shock yourself a little bit touching that mat. If you have any moisture on your hands, you do get a little shock. I don't know if you've ever painted a room and accidentally painted over the electrical outlet and did something dumb like me and tried to swipe at it. You get a little jolt. Yeah, same thing with this electrostatic mat, so be careful. So again, we're on the back side. I'm just going to get this loaded on, turn on the electricity to help hold it down, and then we can tape down these corners. Okay, so this is really close into that corner, so I'm going to scoop my design over a little bit because I know where this is sitting here now. But otherwise, this is ready, loaded in. Let's go look at our page and make some adjustments. All I'm going to do is take this and just pull that over a little bit. Right there. Everything else looks good. We can hit send. Again, we're going to send as is because we've already mirrored everything. And then we can just let it cut on out. The nice part about this is it's really easy weeding for all of these. So while that's cutting, we're going to go ahead and just trim around these so that I can, there's like not a lot that I need. So I'm just trying to cut pretty close around each of these. We could have put a weeding box around them instead of cutting them out by hand, but this is also another option. This one here. Just gonna cut this one all the way down, even though we have two that are on here. So this will be a scrap that I can use again. And then for HTV, I tend to just save all of my scraps because you never know when you're gonna find something that you just need a tiny little spot. So even this I will save. You just never know. So that one's ready. Here's my word happy. Okay, and then we'll just try to cut that pretty close. Oops, a little too close. And I'm sure you can't probably tell very well where the lines are, but when you're doing this, you can absolutely see where those cuts are. So it's easy to trim these up. And then I will also just trim all these tiny pieces. And I'll save all of these for scraps. All right, let's look at our last piece here. So this one's all done cutting. It looks good. We'll turn off the electricity and then we can remove this. So while we were cutting everything, I do have my heat press heating up. Let's come back over here. And I've got it set for 320 degrees, and we'll do a 15-second press for all of these, and that's based on the recommendations for this brand of HTV that I'm using. This is just I'll leave a link below if they still have it. I've had this stuff forever, but this is just a brand that I got off of Amazon that I could not even pronounce if I wanted to. But I have found this brand works well if you're using a heat press, but if you're using an iron to do this, I really don't recommend it because it just needs more pressure. I feel it needs, like, if you're doing it with a regular iron, it's just gonna you're gonna have to press it multiple times because you just can't get enough pressure with an iron to do it in just one foul swoop, is my experience. So I'm just weeding all of these out, and they're so easy to weed because they're nice and small. And then with this one, with the goof up, I can see where that is. Okay, so that is a scrap. And then these weed really, this is just such a quick and easy project, but I love having a seasonal tea towel hanging in my kitchen. I don't know, it's just, it makes me happy. So I tend to make one for every occasion, and it's time to make one for fall. So if you guys like doing tea towels, or you want to see different ways that we can do tea towels, let me know in the comments, and we can certainly do more of these. I know I've shown you how to do one for Easter. I think that's all we've done so far is Easter, and then we'll do this one here for fall. But if you would like more ideas, let me know. And then we have this last one here, the word happy. Can peel out the center. This one's got some couple little things to weed there. Nothing terrible. And we'll get this weeded out. Okay. All right, all of our pieces are weeded out. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna move over to the heat press. We'll give this a quick pre-press to get all the moisture out of it, and then we'll get everything sorted out the way that it should land on our towels. So let's go over there to the heat press. Okay, I'm here at the heat press, and all we're doing right now is I'm just gonna pre-press this. So I've got half of it hanging over. I've just got it folded in half, and then we're just gonna give this a quick pre-press. I am gonna do probably a good, like, I don't know, 10 seconds here. That's also gonna help just give us some lines so I know where things are at. So now you can see I've got lovely crease lines, and I do think sometimes it's a little bit difficult to figure out where you're working with. So now I'm gonna just fold it this way. So you can see I've got a crease line over here, and then my other crease line is about right there. So let me just kind of get that centered. And then this will be like the bottom half here. So let's just get everything set up here how we want it. So we know y'all goes on the bottom, fall goes in the middle. And then you can decide if you want them to not be quite so spaced out. You could absolutely do these one at a time, but I think they're gonna be fine. This one here, I am gonna trim because I have all this extra, and it's gonna go this direction. So I just cut some of that off. And then it's gonna go, isn't that terrible that I can't remember where it goes? Let me look at the, let me go back and look at the screen here. Okay, to remember what this design is supposed to look like, we're just gonna hit the back button up here. This is the undo button, so we can remember how things look. If you don't want to sit there and do that, you can come down here and you can just kind of redo all of the edits. I'm gonna come to like that one. There we go. Okay, so the leaf goes right to the tip of the L on the word fall. The H aligns with the F, and then all of the L's align on that side. So now we know what that looks like. Let's go back and make it look the same on the heat press. Okay, so we have our L's are lined up here. Our happy lines up with the word, with the letter F. And then our leaf really has to go sit way up here. So here's a little trick. I'm gonna sneak that underneath the carrier sheet for the word fall. So I just snuck that under there, and then we can do it that way, and we can press everything all at once. I think that looks great. So let's give it a good press. Oh, and before I do that, I do have my little Teflon sheet that I am gonna put on top here. You don't have to, but a little extra protection. Make sure I don't get anything on my machine there. And where's my, oh, I don't know where my towel is. I'm gonna use my shirt because that's really hot. Okay, so that was 15 seconds at 320 degrees. This is meant to be a warm peel. So let's see if we can do it warm. Let's see how it looks. Looks beautiful, so we can go ahead and just peel all of these off. I like to peel them and then that little corner lift it a little bit, but I like to peel them and then just do one more. Couple of those tried to lift up. So I will give this another quick press just to make sure everything's melted in where we want it. Get those wrinkles out. Just to make sure. Okay, so I did like 8 seconds. Ooh. Just to make sure everything's really stuck on there really well. Okay, we're all done. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off that heat press and let's take a look at what we've got. Okay, here is our adorable, happy fall y'all towel. So then when you fold it, what I'm doing here, I've got it folded in half on the other end. And these are not, this brand that I have, it's not like perfectly square, so I just kind of try my best. So I fold it that way, and then I'm gonna fold it. This is hard to kind of do with it, holding it up in the air. Okay, so we have it this way. We're folded in half, and then these I fold kind of to the center here. So I have, let me see here, this way, folded in half. This side comes into the center. That's what it looks like on the back. Obviously you want to fold it in first and then fold it in half up and down so it'll hang on something, but then that's what it's going to look like when it hangs. And how cute is that? I think this is going to look great in my kitchen. I can't wait to put it up. So if you like this and you want to see more like this, make sure you give me a thumbs up, and we will continue on with some fall creations next week. I'll see you then.